get ready so that when they're all passed out, we'll be ready to go. So I misplaced my paper form of it. So I'm just going to use the electronic form that my friends at home all used. I'm going to walk over and turn off this.
It's because I got in first.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. There we go. Is that better? Did that wake you guys up at least, if nothing else? That extra weird, crazy noise. All right. So the directions were to read the dry days in Australia and the two side sections, or what we call a sidebar, and use the text to answer the information. He's not here today? Oh. All right. It's not quite made it here yet. All right. So it was a lot to read, by the way. And Mrs. Ovid and I know that was a lot of information to read. 4 pages of text between the main article and the 2 sidebars. It's a lot of information. Partially they had you read it so that you had the benefit of also that information, so that when you write your essay, that you have that that schema. But they also asked some questions about it. But most of it was so that you had an opportunity to learn about a different place, a different location in the world. I'm not sure why there's so much talking over at that other side of the room. Thank you. So the first question on this test is, what's your name? So everybody did their name. That was a good job. The first question said, in this sentence. So I need everybody looking at question number 1. Question number 1 was one of the questions that, if you look at, so my friends that are in person, you have that little bar that's across, your little gray bar that's across the front that's stapled. It says 2 kinds of problem, or 2 kinds of questions. It says comprehension questions, and it says word knowledge. So this question that's number 1 is one of your word knowledge questions. And my friends who, you can find out your scores. I added them onto your assignment. So if you go back into your assignment, I returned those who turned it in. And then I had a couple of you who didn't turn in the assignment, but I added it in the personal messages, and I told you how many points you got. So the first one says, read the sentence. Additional water restrictions kick in whenever water reserves fall below certain levels. What is the meaning of kick in the sentence above? Choose the best answer. So remember what Mrs. Oppen did yesterday with trying to put the different options in instead of the phrase? Okay. So this was one of the ones where they remember last week we talked about literal and non-literal words, right? Kick in. Would that make you think that normally the literal term of kick in, right, is to fling your foot forward, right? To kick. Is that the intention of this kick? No. So it says to kick or hit hard. Is that our answer? No, it is not. So, and we could even put that in there. We could say additional water restrictions hit hard, and whenever water reserves fall below certain levels. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, so now we have to start, to contribute, to die. Those are, well, definitely, is it the additional water restrictions to die whenever water reserves fall below? Does that one make sense? No, it's not to die. So almost all of you either picked to start or to contribute. And a lot of you, I think, picked contribute because you weren't 100% sure what contribute means. And contribute means to add to give. So so based on that, are we going to go with to start or to contribute for our answer? to start. So let's put that in and see if it makes sense. Additional water restrictions start whenever water reserves fall below certain levels. Does that make sense? Yes. So it was to start. Then, and then that was that literal, non-literal, right? So it didn't mean to kick. It didn't mean its usual meaning. It was non-literal. So let's look at this next one. Most Australians, about 90%, live in big cities hugging the coasts. Which sentence below uses the word hugging in the same way it is used in the sentence above? So here we're going with our literal or our non-literal. So does the city hug the coast? Is it giving it a nice little warm squeeze? No. Is it a person, first of all? No. So is it hugging? Is it giving a love to the coast? No. So is that literal or non-literal? It's going to be a non-literal meaning. All right. So we have four options. The race car sped around the track, hugging the curve. The child could not stop hugging his mother. She sat in the corner hugging her bruised knee. So like this, right? Or she grabbed him as he ran by, hugging him to her. Well, three of those answers are all that nice little squeeze, aren't they? And we determined that that's not the meaning. So it's got to be the one left that doesn't have somebody giving somebody a squeeze, right? So which one was that then? Miss Astria. A, the race car sped around the track, hugging the curve. So in this case, hugging is not meaning that squeeze. It's meaning staying close to, being close to. So that race car was staying close to the curve, whereas the city is close to the coast. So a different non-literal meaning than you may have thought of before. All right, this next sentence. Although people may be fined for using sprinklers or washing their cars, the government is not peeking into people's bathrooms to see how long they are in the shower. Why does the author tell us that the government is not peeking into people's bathrooms in the sentence above? So this, again, had a little bit of an idea, right, of literal or non-literal meaning. So peeking means actually to look into, right? Is the government really looking into people's bathrooms? No. All right, so let's look at our options to let the reader know that the government officials will not be looking into people's bathroom windows. Well, are they doing that? No. So is really that the right answer? No. To let the reader know that Australians feel responsible for conserving water. Yes, they're going to do it even though nobody's forcing them, even though nobody's checking on them, they feel responsible. So the answer is B. Let's look at the other two and say why those were not ones. To let the reader know that Australians often cheat when asked to save water. And it definitely wasn't, because the next paragraph said that Australians feel it's their duty to save water. So it's definitely, they're not cheating. And the last one was to let readers know that Australian government knows a lot about what goes on in people's homes. No, because they're not peeking, right? So it's not about that. All right, next one had to do with the teen diary. Ellie, not our Ellie, but Ellie was doing saying from her perspective how it feels to deal with the lack of water, right? The demand is greater than they have for it. So it asks in the text, what is Ellie's viewpoint about saving water? And I want to actually reread that section. I'm going to steal one of these ones. I keep losing my. All right. So before you, so I want to reread it because almost like most of you didn't get this one right. And I really want to make sure that you understand why it was the answer that it was. And so I just want to reread this because I think some of you, by the time you got to this section, were a little tired or fatigued from, reading all the pages, and we're not reading carefully. I just have this feeling because a lot of you chose an answer that doesn't really make sense with what she wrote. So here we go. A report from Australia, 1 bath all year. I've only had 1 bath all year and I felt guilty about it. I have 2-minute showers, but it's pretty easy to stick to, and you don't wash your hair every day. I went on a bike trip called the Great Victorian Bike Ride. We rode about 600 kilometers, about 373 miles, over 9 days and slept in tents. We rode through areas that were in stage 4 water restrictions. So you might not know what a stage 4 something is, but does that sound pretty serious? Yes. Even though we were covered in dirt and sweat, we weren't allowed to shower. This drought is scary. So many people who live in the country, they don't have what they need to make a living. You save water because if you don't do it, you're a bad person and you feel guilty. But you don't really need that long in a shower anyway. It's no big deal. 2 minutes is enough. Okay, so based on that, let's go back to that question and look at our choices. So it says, what is Ellie's point of view about saving water? Ellie thinks it's very difficult to save water. Ellie thinks that she should save water that it is not that difficult. Ellie thinks it's unfair that she was not allowed to take a shower. Or Ellie thinks only people in the country should have to save water. So those were the ones. So look at which one you chose. So look at the one you chose. Before we go over the right answer, look at the one you chose and think about if you got it wrong, if you got it incorrect, think about why maybe that was not the right answer. Okay? If you got it right, good job, because there were some of us. But just think about maybe why you chose the one you did. Because it says down here, it's no big deal. So does she upset about having to save water? No. And she feels guilty when she uses water because she knows other people are suffering. So which one then is our correct answer? B, you're right. Ellie thinks that she should save water and it's not that difficult. So the next one down was a little difficult to grade because so many of you picked the incorrect answer. I didn't want to automatically mark your opinion wrong because a lot of you responded to what you thought her idea was. And so that to make it fair, I just made sure that if you, whatever you said Ellie's was, if your answer made sense, that whether you agreed or disagreed, if you had the same viewpoint or not, I had to grade whether or not I thought you made, you expressed, no matter what you said Ellie's viewpoint was, did you say what your opinion was and if it was same or different and then why? So that was the next part about, if you went along with it's not hard to save water, maybe you disagree and say, actually, it is hard to save water. You might have said, I don't have to save water, so it's easy for me. So I have a different kind of point of view, or you could have agreed with her. Either way. So reread your answer. If you got an okay, that meant I gave you the point, but it didn't really necessarily go with the answer. Some of you got just a good star, which meant that your answer made sense. And otherwise, I might have written a question or a sentence about why your answer didn't go. Okay.
And can we just talk about the fact that this is a chance to learn?
Oh, yes. Yeah, totally.
Negative feelings happening, maybe some positive self-talk instead of getting down.
Oh, yeah. All of these, the reason we're practicing these, right, is so we can improve and be better readers. It's not about what the grade was, right? I mean, it's one of those things that Mrs. Aubin and I, have to do, put in a grade book, but it doesn't, it's not a make or break situation here, folks. It's just another chance to practice. That's all it is. And if you didn't get them right, yeah, no, not at all. Think about why you missed it and then be ready for the next one. The next time we have some of these. We're going to be practicing all week with them, with Mrs. Aubin and Mrs. Harrison are going to have more questions, and we're just trying to become better, right? Nobody's perfect. Everybody's just trying to improve. And then the last question had to do with what was the author's purpose in the report. And so we had some choices to show that some people in Australia feel it's important to save water, to show how hard it is to live in Australia, to explain many different ways that you can save water, or to explain water pollution problems in Australia. Are there any that we know are definitely not the right answer, that the whole article had no information about whatsoever? Evie? B and C, how hard it is to live in Australia? Okay, well, they did talk about that some of it, you can't do this and you can't do that, right? Because the restrictions, but is the reason for the writing Ellie's part, right? It's Ellie's part. So think about it, it's not the whole article, it's just the Ellie's diary part. So what was the reason for adding that part in? It does say how hard it is to live in Australia a little bit for her, but what was that the whole purpose of that section? Definitely not. So it's definitely not B. Elena? It's not D because they don't talk about the pollution. Did she talk about pollution at all in Ellie's section? No, not. So we know it's not B or D. So it leaves us with those other two. Did it explain lots of different ways to save water? It did say the whole article told us all kinds of ways to save water, right? Different things they're doing, like the 2-minute showers. But what's Ellie's focus? What is Ellie's focus in this time? Sunny? Exactly, to show that some people in Australia feel it's important to save water. Ellie, who's who's a teenager, but again, she's not getting everything she wants, right? But she mentions how important it is to her because she knows other people are going to suffer if she doesn't save that water. So that's the purpose in adding that teen diary part in there for sure. All right, my friends. So the first two questions were about word knowledge. So you might have seen some number out of 2. There were 2 questions about word knowledge. And then the rest of the questions were all the comprehension. And so those were all 4 questions for those 4 points on the top. All right. So Mrs. Aubin, whenever you get a chance, they're finished with those. So thank you, friends. Yeah, it's not, it's 1 grade amongst a whole bunch. So it's not a big deal. We're just trying to learn. Definitely not worrying about being perfect. We're all just trying. And you know what? I'll give you some information. To be honest, sometimes Mrs. Aubin and I, when we give these tests, we sometimes have to look at the answers to make sure exactly which one they want us to pick. So sometimes it's hard even for adults sometimes. So no worries there, okay? Don't be down. It's all good, right? Well, I was going to say we have to look up the answers sometimes because we're not always sure which one they want. So it's rough for even the adults. All right. Thank you guys for sticking with me for that. We have some interesting things today. So I'm going to get started on that. Okay. Hocus pocus. All right. So I told you yesterday that we were getting ready, right, to start writing our own essays about how we're going to persuade people to change their ways, right, to help us out with this crisis that we're having. All right. So our learning targets today are going to be that we as a group, so it says I, but tomorrow you're going to do it with a small group, with a group of just a couple kids. Tomorrow you're going to be more independent about it. Today we're going to do a little bit of it together, but we are going to research about solutions because we haven't done solutions yet. We filled out all those note catchers and we filled out what was the problem and why do we care and what is the impact on people. but we didn't fill anything in on those solutions yet. So today we're going to start writing some solutions in that solution box. And then starting tomorrow, you are going to also, you're going to even make your list even longer about some, you're going to fill your brain. You're going to become that expert so that when Lucas is trying to persuade somebody else, right? Maybe your brother, about how to save water, then you're going to be such an expert that of course they're going to want to listen to you, right? Because if you tell somebody to do something and you don't have some facts to back it up, then they don't necessarily think that maybe they should listen to you, right? But if you have lots of good facts behind it and you can persuade them or convince them, then you will be, Max, you can just go ahead and hand it to her. So that you can be the expert. Now, at the very end, the reason you also want to write this essay really well is because you're going to make a PSA. You're going to make a video. You're going to make a Powtoon, right? That explains and shows people ways that they can solve this problem. I have one to show you today before the end of class today. It's not made necessarily with Powtoons, but it's a video very similar to the ones that you guys can make. And I think it'll get those brain, you'll start getting your brain warmed up to what am I going to, how does this build to the very end? All right. Mrs. Aubin and I get a little teary when we watch it. So it'll, we'll have to, hopefully it makes an impression upon you as well. All right. So we know as EL students that one of the things we always try to do is we try to contribute to a better world. First of all, we know, Mrs. Aubin and I know this class is amazing at that. Remember at the beginning of the year, we had our first module and we were learning about how other people struggle to get an education in other places and how to even, that students someplace else don't even have enough food. And you guys did, remember the hat? We had the hat days and we raised $428.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, friends. That's a lot of money, $428. And remember how the plates for those kids, that 5 kids for 2 meals a day was only $2 and something? So did we feed a lot of kids?
Yeah.
We definitely did. We fed a lot of kids their breakfast and their lunch while they were going to school. And I don't know about you. I know this happens to Mrs. Aubin and I and probably you at home too, right? You get hungry, right, Leo? If you're hungry, can you focus very well? Can you read and focus? No, of course not, right? If you guys are hungry, your brain is now in your tummy, right? You're just like, oh, I'm so hungry. And you stop thinking about school. Well, can you imagine every day going to school hungry and being hungry all day? You're not going to be a very good student, right? And so we did them a huge, we gave them a huge opportunity to not only feed their bellies so they can grow and be strong, but so they can learn well too. We helped them with that education that we found that was so hard for them. So different subject now, different module now, but I know that you guys are going to contribute to a better world. And in the next week or so, we're going to be in triads. And then my friends at home, we're going to put you in some breakout groups that you're going to stick with. And you're going to use some of the things you're going to do is you're going to use your strengths to help your other members of your group. Some of us are great readers. Some of us are great writers. Some of us are creative thinkers. Some of us have a lot of schema. Some of us have the ability to take an idea and change it and make it easily understood by somebody else, something that might have been complicated. We all have different skills, and we hope that you use those skills within your group to help the whole group as a whole. You're going to apply this learning that we're doing right now to make our PSAs, but we're going to present those PSAs to other people. We're not just making them for us. We're not just making them for Mrs. Aubin and I. We're making this to share. We're going to ask you to share your PSAs with other people. You're going to have that opportunity to share them with others. What I'm hoping to be able to do is do another one of those big Zoom things where, some of those grandparents came in and some other, you'll have hopefully an opportunity to be able to share it in a bigger way than just the people at our school. And as we're doing that, we're thinking about how we take care of others, how we take care of our materials. You're going to be getting a lot of different, you're going to have a lot, you're going to be able to use a lot of electronics. You're going to use some books. You're going to use some your One Well book. You're going to have a lot of materials. And we want to make sure that we keep those in care as well. All right. So we have one last reading to really pull this all together in One Well. Okay. So I would like you to take out your One Well book and be on page 28 and 29. You're also going to need your workbook, but not yet. So keep that in mind. You're going to need your workbook, but not yet. Perfect. All right. All right. So my friends at home, if for some reason you can't find your book, I've got the One Well on the PDF. So if for some reason you're struggling with finding that, you can go onto our assignment and find it there. But I want you to be able to have eyes on page 29 or 28 and 29, and not read it off just the screen because it's a little too small. All right. So here it looks like this. It's big and yellow. Good job, Ben. You got it. Good job, buddy. Awesome. Yep, you got it. Right page and everything. Good job, Ben. Mr. Charlie, do you have your book so you can read along? Perfect. Miss Haley, did you bring your book along? Haley? Haley Calendar? I can't quite tell. And Mr. Gavin, do you have your book? Yep. Okay, good. Mr. Jensen, buddy, you don't have your book with you? Okay, so Mr. Jensen, the One Well book is on. If you don't have it with you, I attached it to the assignment today, so you can still pull it up on your screen. Oh, you got it. Good job. All right, thanks, Mr. Jensen. Ms. Haley, if you don't have your book with you, you can look at it on today's assignment. So do you have your One Well book with you today, Ms. Haley, or do you need to? You do? Okay. All right. Yeah. Can you show Mrs. Aubin? Can you hold it up? No? Okay. So then.
No, I don't have mine.
Okay. So you're going to go to the assignment and open it up on because I want you to be able to see where all the information is. So if you go to today's assignment, which I totally just lost. Where'd it go? I pushed it on the other one, didn't I? Ay. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. Classwork, here it is. So if you pull up today's assignment, it's really important because you might need this later. So, I'm on the wrong one, wrong week. Here we go. Class on Tuesday. If you open it up, you'll see right here, One Well. Go ahead and click on that. Yes. I just want to make sure that you're reading along. So go ahead and scroll down, Miss Haley, until you get to page 26. No, sorry, 28 and 29. And then it'll appear on your screen. It takes, especially if you're in the car, it might take a little while to download, but it's got all the pages there. All right. So I really want you to look at the pages and read with your eyes. Mr. Finn, do you have oh, you do. Good. All right. So I really want you to look with your eyes because you might need this information later. All right. You might get an idea for your note catcher. You might get an idea for your essay. And you might be like, oh, I remember it's on that page, but I don't remember where exactly. So you will be able to better find it later if you're only rereading a little part instead of rereading a lot of it. All right. Okay. So the name of it's Becoming Well Aware. Are they being clever with some words there? Yeah. Yes, they are. Because they've been using the word well the whole time, right? About the well, like a water well. But in this case, they're wanting us to be not only aware of water, but they want us to be very aware, and a word for very is well, right? So they're used double meaning for that word well in this one. All right, I'm going to read along, and I want you to read along with your eyes. And then I wanted you, we're going to be in just a moment adding some things to those note catchers. So I want you to think, does that idea go with access? Does it go with demand? Or does it go with pollution? Because each of your groups, your triads, is going to have one of those subjects, not all three. And so you want to really focus and know which area is this going to help me with. All right, water conservation. It's really, let me turn off. I know you're reading on your desks, but just so you can, in case you lose your spot, you can point there. Water conservation isn't just something for governments, corporations, and environmental groups to think about. Everyone needs to get involved in water conservation, even you. Oh, all eyeballs should be on the text. See some people who are looking around the room. And it's not hard to do. It doesn't even mean living without water. It just means becoming well aware of every splash of water we use. By reducing your water use, you too can become well aware. Even the simplest actions can make a huge difference. Imagine all the water you could save just by keeping drinking water in the fridge instead of letting the tap run to get cool water. And by making sure to turn off faucets so that they don't drip, you can save up to 10,000 liters or 2,650 US gallons of water a year. That is a lot. Are you imagining how much that is? Think about those gallons and think about and now that we especially since we've been doing things with place value, right, Ryder? 2,650. We can imagine how much that really is of gallons of water. But becoming well aware doesn't just mean using less water. It also means taking care of the water we have. You can protect water from pollution by walking more and driving less, which keeps car exhaust from polluting water in the atmosphere. Organizing shoreline cleanups keeps trash from entering lakes, rivers, and streams. Planting trees anchors the soil so that it doesn't wash into waterways and make them muddy. Imagine what would happen if each of us just did one thing to conserve water and protect Earth's one well. These actions would add up. Together, they would help to ensure that there is enough clean water now and for years to come. Here are just a few ways you can become well aware. Learn more and educate others. Ooh, is that what we're going to do? Yeah. Yes. By learning more about Earth's one well, you can make choices in your life that help conserve and protect water. Then share what you learn. Help the people around you become well aware too. That's what our PSA is for, right? Yeah. Exactly. That's what our essay is going to encourage others to do. But you could also join others. This is at the top of page 29. There are many organizations. I'm going to show you some materials today of some other organizations that help protect water and help other people. So there are many organizations working to protect water or helping people to get the water they need. Find out more about organizations that interest you and support their work by raising money, volunteering your time, or helping to spread their message, or start your own campaign. There are some things you're going to see tomorrow about some people who decided to, on their own, make a difference. And so there are some videos and some articles I'm going to show you tomorrow that you're going to have an opportunity to read about just one person trying to do something. So you can start your own organization or campaign. You don't have to necessarily do something with somebody else's. Conserve water. With your family, ooh, this is something we can all do, right? Explore all the ways you use water and then brainstorm ways to reduce your water use at home. Some suggestions include turning off the water while scrubbing your hands or brushing your teeth, running the dishwasher and washing machine only when full, asking your parents to fix any leaky faucets, collecting rainwater to water the plants in your garden or house, watering your lawn only when it needs it and only early in the morning or the evening when less water will evaporate. Did they do that in Australia? That was some of the restrictions they had for there. Protect the water. Rainwater can wash waste and pollution into storm sewers, which flow into local rivers or lakes. Oil, grease, salt from roads, fertilizers, and pesticides from gardens, paint, oil, leaves, and litter can all end up in local waterways. Many communities paint fish or other symbols near the sewers to remind people that sewers empty into waterways. Does your community have such a program? If not, why not try to start one? So a lot of near our houses, a lot of our houses don't necessarily have sidewalks or gutters that have that kind of thing. But around Aspen Park, there are lots of different places that they have some possible grades. All right, last section in the purple. And then we're going to decide where we can put some of this information on our note catchers. Improving access, one well at a time. Now here's about a kid, so listen close. More and more children and their families are becoming well aware. Some, like Ryan Hurljak, are helping to make water more accessible to those who need it most. In 1998, as a 6-year-old, do we all get that? Even littler than us. 6-year-old Ryan learned that many people in Africa didn't have access to clean water. He raised enough money to build a well near a school in Uganda. But he didn't stop there. With his parents' help, he started the Ryan's Well Foundation, which continues to raise money to build wells in Africa and educate people elsewhere about the need to conserve water. Pretty cool, huh? So one, like I said, we are thinking about ways that we can help, either educating other people, doing things ourselves, or even maybe starting a new foundation. All right, so I want you to think for a moment. We've been studying access, demand, and pollution. So those are three, they overlap a lot, but they are different. So what was Ryan trying to help us do? What was he helping with access? Was he helping with demand? Or was he helping with pollution? Which one was he helping with? Which one was he helping with? What do you think, Logan? Pollution? Well, let's read it again. So Ryan learned that people didn't have access to clean water. He raised enough money to build a well near a school in Uganda. Are you still thinking pollution? No? All right. Isabella, what are you thinking? Access. So this would be a great solution. Could we, if we were trying to help, or if we were trying to encourage someone to help, could we encourage them to donate some money to Ryan's Well Foundation? Yes, because they're building wells, right? Okay, so take out, this is where you're going to get now your workbook out. On page 22, it's been a long time. It's been a really long time. But on page 22, we have this big empty box. And if you look at the top, it says access to water. So here we have these note catchers, and this today we're going to start adding some things to these note catchers. So some ways to solve the issue. Well, let's look at the different parts first. What is an issue? What is an issue? We wrote it up here. It says the issue is, what is an issue? Elena?
A thing that people can't have and that it's a problem.
It's a problem, exactly. It's a problem. An issue is a problem that we're trying to solve or discuss, make known. So there's our issue. And then it affects people. What does it do to the people, right? That's what this section's about. And then it says call to action. Why do we care? What's the point? That's their problem, not ours. But except for, is that really true? No. So we wrote in here, not all people around the world have access to the water they need. And we got that from one well. And then we read another thing called access to fresh water. And we wrote that some of the fresh water people do have access to. They have lots and lots of, maybe have lots and lots of water, but it's not clean. Okay. And then how does that affect people? Well, then people have to spend time to go get it. And if the water isn't clean, it makes them sick. So why does that matter? Well, people all need water to survive. So if we care about other people, then we have to care about this situation. People are getting sick from dirty water and some even die. We talked about some of those diseases, and especially small children. If they get the diseases, they can possibly die. So one of the things we just read about that we could do to help the situation, right, is we could do what? What did we just see on the bottom of page 29 that we could do if we were trying to help in some way? Noah. Build a well. So are you going to go and build one? Likely? Probably not. Your mom probably is not going to send you to Uganda to build a well, though, right? You're on the right track, Noah. We are probably ourselves aren't going to go build a well, but what could we do so that somebody else could build that well? Noah. What could we do to help someone else build the well that's more capable than we are? Use your mom. Okay, Abby, help him out. Donate money. Donate. All right, here we're writing. Donate money to, or you're writing this down, organizations like Ryan's Well Foundation. So we could donate money to Ryan's Well Foundation. That's one possibility. Now, the reason access is kind of hard for us to do something is because usually it's far away, right? A lot of these places are not, are not around the corner for the access, right, to water. Most of these are, we talked about Africa. We talked about, Australia. We've talked about other places that don't necessarily have the clean, fresh water they need. Page 22, Ms. Cernay, page 22. So that's one thing we could do. I will show you, Mrs. Abbott. So I brought, we're going to continue to use the One Well book, so don't put that away. But I have some other sources. I have been collecting for the last 2 months some things that have come to my house that I probably didn't even notice until all of a sudden I become a little bit more well aware of them. And this one happened to be Mrs. Aubin's adding to my collection. I did see it and I forgot to put, she was so, sometimes Mrs. Aubin and I think really well alike together. And so she brought it to me and I saw that, but I forgot to pull it out. So that was really great of Mrs. Aubin. So if you remember, here we go. Not only Ryan's Well Foundation can help, but, so this came out of the Canyon Courier. Some of you might get that newspaper at your house. It's the one from around here, from Evergreen and those guys and around. So this picture, look, I don't know if you can see it real well. That looks like a very big container though, doesn't it? Yes. And so underneath it, it says 10,000 gallon water tank on its way to be installed in Nairobi, which is in Kenya. It will bring affordable, filtered water to 500 households. So that's a very big container, 10,000 gallons, but it's going to bring fresh, filtered water. And this came from the Rotary Club of Evergreen was saying some of the things they donate. So we could also donate money to organizations like Ryan's Foundation or the Rotary Club. That could be another place. Oh, sorry. I made it super big so you could see the picture, and then I didn't change my writing. Miss Haley, that's probably not what you need to be working on right now. All right. And wow, I have been collecting stuff for the last couple months. This came out of one of my, so I know that this is not about wanting you to go to church or anything. Some of you do, some of you don't. But I get a magazine at my house that is about my church. And what I noticed here is I'm gonna make it a little smaller because it's a little too big at the moment. So they had an article about raising money. So can you see what they're doing there near the water? They're collecting water, aren't they? They're collecting water in all kinds of weird sort of jugs. And it says the priest in Kenya partners with Catholic Outreach to provide poor with safe water. And so they also have a situation where they raise money and bring water. And they have a whole story about this woman here. She's a grandmother. And she has to walk 2 miles each way. So 2 miles to and 2 miles back to collect enough water for her family and her grandchildren. Now, I don't know, you might think about, we have some pretty strong grandmas that I know we have in our families, but can you imagine those grandmas having to take trips several times a day to collect water for all of their family? That's a lot of water to have to do. And she's got, there's at least 4 grandchildren in this picture, right? Okay, so we could donate money to organizations like Ryan's Well Foundation, the Rotary Club, or other organizations. But if you don't, and not everybody has extra money to donate, but what do have? You guys are young and you guys have some time, so you could, well, not just do chores, but could you volunteer to help them? Yes. Okay. You could volunteer. Yes. Yeah, for sure. I'm struggling with making sure I have enough room on the board as well. So you can volunteer your time, right? So my friends who are going to do access, when you do your essay, you're going to focus on how we can get water to people who are far away. So Noah, I loved your answer of go dig a well, but are many of us actually going to go there and do that? No, not necessarily. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll grow up and you'll belong to an organization that can do that. Or maybe you as your family, you can convince your family to go do that. But are most of us probably going to do that? No. But can we still make some sort of way to help? For sure, right? We can do something else. All right. So that's access. But we also know people have problems with demand, right? Being a place that has lots of people and not enough water. So what are some of the things that we had on page 28 and 29 that we could, so look back at page 28 and 29. I see a lot of you still have your texts. Look back at page 28 and 29. And is there something that we can add in our demand page, which is page 27? We're going to be filling in that empty box. Page 27. So demand, population is getting bigger. We need more food. We need more water. So how are we going to help with that? By doing what? By using less water. We're going to conserve. We need to conserve water, use less, not waste it, right? So what were some of the ways inside our One Well book that it said we could save water? Go back to the text right now, page 28 and 29. I had your eyeballs on the text for a reason. This is page 27. And you know why? And it says demands on water. So this is demand. So this isn't access. This is not being able to get the water. This is just not having enough for everyone, right? So we're going to conserve water. What are some of the ways that page 28 and 29 told us that we could save it? August.
I wrote my stuff on the wrong.
Oh, oops. Well, can you go show Mrs. Oven and see if she has a good possible solution for that?
Make a copy of that.
Okay, we'll just make, yeah. Just make sure he's on. So we're on page 27. So this is our note catcher for demand. So we talked about access, how we could help with access. But now we want to talk about how can we help conserve our water. Now more farms, more cities need more water. So if we use less, and how are some of those ways that we can use less? Lyric? Very good. Fix leaky faucets. Very good. And they wrote it right there. Leaky faucets. It said conserve water, right? Good job, Miss Lyric. If you find the section that says conserve water, that's probably got some ideas for you, doesn't it? Conserve water. What other ways can we conserve water besides fix leaky faucets? Ellie, you're on fire today.
Turning off water while scrubbing your hands or brushing.
All right, turn off water. Can I just shorten that to maybe brushing teeth? Yeah. All right. So turning water off. What else does it say we can do? If you think back to on Friday, Mrs. Harrison had you look at a website that had 100 ways to save water. Remember that? Had a little grid with all the different ways you could save water. Anybody remember one of those or see something on page 29 or 28 that can help us with that? Madison.
I remember one with the waves thing. Turn off the hose when washing cars.
Ah, okay. Turn off the hose when washing your car. Or we can even use buckets, right? And reuse the water from the hose, okay? So how about we turn off hose outside, maybe when we're not using it for the whatever purpose, so washing cars or whatever, put hose outside. Turn off hose outside, use a bucket. So you don't have to always keep the water running, right? All right. Now, are there obviously more things than will fit in this box? Yes. You're going to find a lot more of them tomorrow. What else did you have, Elena?
Don't put ice cubes in the sink and put in
I was hoping someone would remember that. I was hoping. Yes, the ice cube trick, right? The ice cube falls on the floor. Feed your plant instead of the drain, right? So are there more things we can put in here? Yes. Guess what? If you're doing demand on water, tomorrow, that's what you're going to write. You're going to write a whole bunch more ways. All right, but we had one more. We had pollution, page 34. What are some of the, so page 34 is water pollution. What are some solutions so that we can keep our water clean? Now, I know you can come up with several, but I want you to keep 28, page 34. Everybody 34. Oh, okay. So I'm looking at page 29 from One Well. So again, looking at the text. Oh, 29, 28, 29. This is page 34. If you still same two yellow pages, right? Water pollution. If you look right here where it says protect the water. Rainwater can wash waste and pollution into storm sewers. What were some of the ways that they suggested here that you can help with? Lila.
Well, one of the ways that they suggested, but picking up litter.
Oh, actually, that is a good idea because it says right here, it said making sure that things don't go down into the water, right? So pick up litter because it could end up in the water, right? Pick up litter. It could end up in our water. It could end up in a creek or or the ocean eventually, right? What other things can we do? We're right in the solving it. What are we going to do? What are some ways? What are a few ways? What do you think, Ellie? Yes, make sure your car isn't leaking oil. Good idea. Because where's that oil going to end up? Well, either on the road or on your driveway and on the ground. And then what happens when it rains? It's going to go ahead and end up in the water. Great. Charlie, what's another idea? All right. So you know what he could do? You could put this on yours. You could say, put something under like a piece of cardboard. That's what he does. Great. So that the oil doesn't get into the water. Great. Awesome. That's perfect. Good. Abby, what's another thing we can do to help from water getting polluted?
Make sure it's like snowing or hailing. Make sure it doesn't hit any of the trash cans so it dumps it over.
Okay, so protect your trash can. And we know that if you live in an area with bears, right? Sometimes the bears, you got to protect your trash from the bears if you can. And then the bears knock it over and then it blows away and then it ends up getting in the water, right? All right. Now, are there tons more we can add to this one? Yes. Can we write them all right now? No. So tomorrow, I want you, well, I'll show you how, but you're going to do some research. I'm going to hopefully get a chance to show you some of the other things I found as well. But I want to show you something really important. I'm going to show you one of those PSAs so you can get an idea. But you're going to do some more research tomorrow on pollution, on demand, on access, because is the information out there? Yes, there's tons of information. And there's tons of different ways you can make a difference, right? These are easy ways to help. All right, so I'm going to show you a little video. And I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I want to turn off, just in case, I want to turn off my, it's not letting me stop. Okay, just 1 second. I want to stop recording.